Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I am excited. Another Sunday morning, and we're here, right? Another Sunday morning, and we're here. Early risers, early risers. So, listen, today we're going to talk about fatigue. But before we get into that, can we hit a few important items? Just a few, not many, just a few. People of God, we're going to declare our mantra that we're always talking about, and that is whatever, whatever is going on around you. I speak prophetically to you that it shall be well. Whatever it is, it shall be well. That's right. You're already doing it. You know it. So can you agree with me? Bible say, well, two or three are gathered. And so we're going to agree on this thing here that it shall be well. That's right. It shall be well. Good morning, Dr. Jackie. Good morning, Lisa. My family's here. Well, you all are my family. You're here, and I'm excited. You're excited. I know you're excited. It's just good to get up and see your smiling faces this morning, right? It's good to see you guys one more time. Kimberly Wiggins, we're excited to see you all. I'm just looking forward to what we have to share today. But before we get into that, I need to get to this place of importance. Can you all help me shout out some important people by saying, hey, y'all, hey, y'all, hey, y'all, to our replay viewers, right? Right. So listen, having said all of that, I would that you would certainly support this ministry. Support this ministry. You already know where I'm going over here. Yeah, YouTube channel. Very simply, if this episode blesses you or encourages you, I pray you will share it with someone. Your comments are always welcome, not just welcome, but be sure to hit that like button, that like button, that like button. The like button is what we want you to do. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. And while I'm here, for those of you that have supported us financially, thank you, thank you. Know that your seeds that you sow go towards ministry, and that we support single parent families, typically those that have been hit with things that they beyond their control, and they went to the government, and for whatever reason the government couldn't help them. But to find out more, certainly go to our website at CamRHministries.org, right? Go to our website at CamRHministries.org. All right. And so we've hit the housekeeping items, and so let's get into or let's I'm ready to work. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to work. All right. Yes, it shall be well. Good morning, Demetria. I'm so glad that you're here. So glad that you made it. And I pray everyone is having an excellent morning this morning. So look, I need you to understand or just be reminded, if you will, that biblical moments, when we have biblical moments and things are happening, they're written for our instructions. And that's according to First Corinthians 11. Just to put our place there in our minds to remind us. So when we read and we see some of these stories, it is for our instructions to guide us. And so today, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about fatigue. And we're going to define fatigue as low energy or feeling overly tired, because we've been talking about what is blocking your view. And so keep in mind, fatigue is defined as overly tired or feeling very tired, and you're low in energy. We just want to stay in that variation of the content of the definition. So here we are. We're in Exodus. We're going to Exodus 17, the 11th verse. We're going to the 11th verse through the 12th verse. 11th through the 12th verse. And I would like to read it from the Amplified from the Amplified Bible. And so it reads as thus. Now, when Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed. And when he lowered his hand due to fatigue, Amalek prevailed. Verse 12 says, but Moses' hands were heavy and he grew tired. So they took a stone and put it under him and he sat on it. Then Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on one side and one on the other side. So it was that his hands were steady until sunset. Now, verses behind that are very instrumental, but for the purpose of what is blocking your view, I want us to tarry just for a moment, if you don't mind, here. Think about this thing. Often we're engaging in challenges in which we become fatigued. Challenges can pull on us in a lot of areas sometimes that we don't think about. Some of us feel like we have everything together, and so I didn't get exhausted by that. But if you process it, you kind of got exhausted trying to think about how you were going to resolve it. At times, it exhausts and hinders our very logic or our rationale of clear thinking, clear processing, not only that, but comprehension for the next step. This is just a struggle. It's a struggle for us. It's a struggle for us. And so, in our biblical context, we find that Moses has been challenged by Amalek. We saw Amalek in our verse 11, I believe. And so, the Bible says that Moses commends Joshua. He commands Joshua to go and get a few men together so they can begin to fight. So there is a situation here. And the situation is brought on not because Israel is seeking it, but Amalek just will not let it go. Further in our backdrop, we understand that they're supposed to be relation and have relations or be related, if you will, in the long picture of this thing, right? So verse 11 said, if I can read it again, it said, while Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed. But whenever he puts down his hand, Amalek prevailed. Verse 11. Verse 7 is instrumental, but here we want to place our thoughts and I begin the process here. This brings our attention to the point that Moses' view was important and vital to the victory for Israel, because they're in a battle here. And in a battle, you need all your senses intact. In a battle, you need to have everything in collection on one accord. If you will, we needed a line, right? We needed a line. And so the visual senses of Moses and Joshua needed to be heightened. We understand that Moses was as you read Exodus 17, and I certainly pray that you will read it in your leisure. We find in Exodus 17, in the chapters before 11, and the verses before 11. So Exodus chapter 17, the verses before 11, we find that there was Moses at the top of the mountain. One version reads that he was at the top of the hill. He was at the hilltop. Well, he was at the top and he was looking down. He needs his visual. He needs to see. And Joshua was at the bottom. So Moses was at the top and he was interceding for the men of God as they fought the battle that they did not seek. And then you have Joshua at the bottom. He's doing the physical. And so it is in the spirit realm. God, we have those that are interceding for us, yet the physical is afar off. We need the two to be on one accord, right? And so the physical battle has begun or is being fought on the ground. And as it's being fought, Moses is doing the interceding on the mountain. So Moses needs his strength to push through as the intercessor for the people. It's important to understand that. But the spirit of fatigue, verse 11 gives us that, and we're reading from the Amplified. The spirit of fatigue was weighing heavy on his decision making, affecting the movement of his arm. Joshua needed to see when the shepherd's ram that he had went up, because the Bible said in verse 11 that they only prevailed when Moses' arm went up. So he needed to see, he needed his view open. He needed nothing to block it, right? He didn't need any hindrance or anything there. But we find that fatigue was there. He couldn't touch it, he couldn't feel it, but fatigue was sitting in the room. So it is with us in the natural. Oftentimes we have challenges and battles that are going on, and we're vacillating back and forth, right? Trying to get this thing together, but it won't work 9 times out of 10 because we're heavy, we're low in energy, we don't have enough strength. But people of God, know when Moses' hand was up, Israel prevailed. In need for us to be aware that fatigue was his call, perhaps to gather himself together, but because the heaviness of it, he couldn't. Verse 12 comes along and tells us that Aaron and Hur had to step in the midst to help him, to lift him. Oftentimes our fatigue will overtake us, it will overcome us, and it'll hinder us from seeing what God wants us to see in the spiritual. Perhaps it is something that is to keep us covered in the blood, or perhaps it is something that will allow us to get from A to B. But because we're so tired and exhausted and our body is weary and we just want to sleep, whenever you're fatigued, the spirit of sleep will hit you. The heaviness of I'm tired. When you're sleeping and you're tired, you can't do anything. You can't intercede. You can't fast. You can't begin to call on your brother or your sister for help. I need you to understand. Good morning, mommy. I need you to understand that sometimes in our life, we need to take a break and begin to rest our spirit, man. Begin to rest our thought process, right? Because fatigue hit Moses and Aaron and Hur. Thank God for Aaron and Hur. They had to come in and begin to lift him up on one side and lift him up on the other. Perhaps that is not the situation for some of us. Oh, we need to have our senses heightened. We have to be in tune to understand that sometimes our slow reflexes or our slow responses are calling us to a greater place. That place is to rest. There's trouble coming. I need you to be heightened, because when it comes, as Moses and Joshua were in as Moses was interceding in the spirit realm, Joshua was down on the physical battle. So the Lord needs our senses to be aligned. He needs them to be on one accord. Sometimes the fatigue will pull us to a place that our decision making will be impaired. You wonder what's going on with you. The enemy has you so tired and so weighted down, but you can't begin to think on the goodness of Jesus, of how he brought you and how he'll keep you. You can't begin to think, well, the last time I was in this situation, it was of the Lord's mercy that I was not consumed. You can't even begin to think, watch this, that when you're in the midst, that you know what, I was in this situation. I've seen these people before. I've seen these enemies before, but guess what? It shall be well. You can't begin to think and process when you're fatigued. What's blocking your view? Perhaps your energy is low, you're fatigued. Perhaps you are weary and you just want to rest. Your fatigue is low. What's blocking your view? Take a rest. And in that rest, take some time and spend with the Lord. Oh my God. And you'll be refreshed when you come out. And there's not a demon or a devil in hell that can come up against you at that moment. I charge you today. People of God. I charge you to rest yourself in the place, knowing that if you're strengthened, knowing that if you've been refreshed, that fatigue cannot hold you down. Only but the grace of God. So, while we're going through and we can't really understand it and we can't feel what it is, I charge you to take a break. I charge you to rest. I charge you to get in the place of refreshing. The place of refreshing can often be the time of stealing away to Jesus. Fatigue. It was Moses' fatigue that was pulling on him, trying to stop him from interceding. People of God, in this season of our life, We need to intercede, not just for ourselves, those we're connected to, but sometimes people on the outside, they need our help. And so we want to be in the place where we're strengthened because we have been rested, strengthened because we are in a greater place. Fatigue does affect, yes, right, Dr. Jackie, it affects our decision making. What's blocking your view? You're probably fatigued. You're probably fatigued. I pray that this blesses you. I pray that it strengthens you. And share with someone. Sometimes, if you're having a conversation and someone comes to you and they can't seem to understand why they can't process or why they can't begin to see or comprehend, tell them, perhaps you're fatigued. Take a rest and come back and visit. It works. Ask Moses. It works. It works. It works. All right, people of God, that is what I have for you today. I pray that it has certainly blessed you. I pray that it has encouraged you. And I pray that you will be able to apply it to your life and those that you are in communion with. It's going to be a great day. It shall be a great day. And remember that it shall be well. I love you.